And here we go. Hello, everybody. How's it going out there? If you happen to end up, there's now a vertical and horizontal version on YouTube. If you got the wrong one, you can just go to youtube.com/moment of clarity and click the live tab and click on the other one. So you can get the one that works best for your viewing needs. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're gonna cover for a few minutes the fact that the Dems caved on the shutdown. I know, shocking that those sacks of shit with a spinal integrity of arthritic jellyfish somehow ended up caving. And man, did they score a lot for the American people. They did. They scored the American people the right to. They were standing up for Americans' right to cave at any time. They were like, we're going to prove to every American that you can cave at any time. And I feel like they did that. So a lot of people being critical. I feel like they did an awesome job on that. But we're going to get to one of the most censored stories of the year, the water scarcity that affects millions of Americans, which is being covered up. The kind of deeper dive into what led Donald Trump to send the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, and just how fake it was. We're going to get into that. I have so much. I'm going to try and get into how former Zelensky advisor has now also admitted that the U.S. and the U.K. stopped the peace deal in 2022. Other admissions. I can't. It's just too much. There's too much to cover. I don't know how to cram it all in, but I'm gonna try. And we'll do it again, but I'll actually lower it a little bit. If we get to $75 today in super chats, I will do an extra 15 minutes. Anyway, let's start with the Dems caving. Again, I couldn't be more shocked that the Dems don't actually have any spine. Here's from Democracy Now! There's calls for Schumer to step down. I don't know why. He's only been in charge of the Senate for the past 230 years. Why step down now? He's such a young lass. There's calls for Schumer to step down. The Democrats cave on healthcare and help the GOP pass the funding bill. And the funding bill is only through January 30th. So we may be doing this all again come January 30th. But, you know, the Congress people like to go home for the holidays. They like to get all their flights on time for the Thanksgiving and the Christmas and stuff. So let's just do that. So ostensibly what the Democrats were fighting for, right, was a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid of a Band-Aid. It was the Band-Aid of affording Obamacare, ACA, which was a Band-Aid on the fact that we have a catastrophic healthcare system in this country, the only industrialized nation without some sort of universal healthcare. And so ACA, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, was a Band-Aid. It was saying, oh, yeah, we have a completely effed up medical care system in this country. So instead, we'll create this ridiculous marketplace. It'll be a boon for the health insurance industry, these corporate titans that are middlemen that just enrich themselves off of your need for some kind of healthcare. They'll get even richer. Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. Thank you, Del Zoid, in the comments, pointing out that this started as Romney Care. It started as a Republican idea. Anyway, so it was a Band-Aid on how do we keep enriching these fucking parasites while we get more Americans, at least a percentage more Americans, some kind of healthcare. So that's what it was. Now you then have the Band-Aid on the Band-Aid, which I like to do that. When I have a cut, I'll put a Band-Aid on, and then I just slap another one on top of it. If the blood starts oozing through, you just put another one on top of that. Works every time. You have the Band-Aid on the Band-Aid of, okay, we've created this marketplace, this ridiculous crap show of a healthcare system. Well, now it's not working for a lot of Americans because the cost of that is too much. Like they can't even, most Americans can't even afford the monthly premiums. So, well, let's throw a Band-Aid on that, which is subsidies so that some of the most struggling Americans will be able to somehow afford this marketplace, to somehow afford some health care that will then, when they really need them, say, oh, we're not covering that anyway. So it is such a remarkable shit show put forward by the biggest parasites in our country, the biggest vampiric shit stains in our country, created this system. The Dems were fighting for those subsidies to some degree. And now you have 6, I think it was, Dems in the Senate, which was all they needed, saying, the shutdown's gone on long enough. We proved our point, which was what exactly? Also, you've got to remember that in this, if you want to pretend these two parties are not one party for a minute, you've got to remember that the Dems were winning this thing, this fight of the shutdown. Most of it, according to polls, was being blamed on Trump and the Republicans. It was being blamed on Trump for not giving people the healthcare subsidies that they need in this clown show. And so the Dems are winning the propaganda battle on that front. They're also really, I never saw anyone believe the Republican line that this had to do with trans rights or trans medical care or something, whatever they were trying to make it about trans something. No, I don't think anyone believed that. And then they were also winning at the ballot box because Dems had a bunch of big wins in this last election. Now we'll just close our eyes and pretend the Democrats are different from Republicans, and we'll close our eyes and pretend that the first woman governor in Virginia isn't a proud CIA officer. So we'll just pretend these two parties are different for a moment. The Dems were winning at the ballot box. Of course, you have Mamdani winning in New York. And, again, you can have a nice little debate as to whether he counts as a Democrat or what he counts as or what the fuck a Democratic Socialist really is, because these two parties don't mean anything. They're just designed to keep you and me in line, dumb enough thinking you're voting between two very different things. Anyway, Dems are winning in those regards. And then what do? They cave on the fight because they're not actually looking out for you. These are mostly the richest Americans, or not the richest, but mostly incredibly rich Americans they don't really have contact with average Americans. They don't really have contact with the 49% of children in this country that are growing up in either poverty or low income. What is the point of being a brutal, bloodthirsty, disgusting empire if half the kids are going to be in poverty? Like, if you're going to be a brutal, awful, vampiric empire, at least don't have all the kids in poverty, right? Can we agree on that? I feel like that's an easy thing to agree on. So I don't know that I need to say much more about the Dem shutdown. I know you can turn on CNN and hear them debate it or whatever, the end of the shutdown. You can turn on CNN and hear them debate it for the next 3.5 hours or whatever. So go do that if you'd like. I want to get to some other stuff that's going on. More Epstein revelations, which I'm sure Trump was thrilled about, right? As he quote unquote wins this shutdown battle. More Epstein revelations have come out. Top administration officials are set to meet after a trove of bombshell emails have been released. And these some of these show emails from Epstein to the journalist Michael Wolff, because these are not that old. They're like 2016, 2017, 2018 emails. So this is long after Epstein had already been arrested in 2000 and put in and given that sweetheart deal in Florida where he could show up to prison when he felt like it. Maybe today's a prison day. You know what? Maybe not. There's something good on TV I'm going to watch. So this is long after he's a convicted sex predator. And he no longer was friends with Donald Trump. And in these emails, he says, first of all, that Trump knew about the girls at minimum. He doesn't, I think he's still watching his back a little bit. So he doesn't say in these emails like, oh yeah, Trump totally banged a 12-year-old. But he says Trump knew all about the girls back when they were friends. And of course, Trump had said something similar about, Epstein. Epstein's a great guy, and he likes the girls even younger than I do. But then he also calls Trump a maniac or out of his mind or something. But he calls him borderline insane. And he also writes, you might want to tell your Democrat friends that treating Trump like a mafia, they should be treating Trump like a mafia don. Uh, and yet they seem to be ignoring, I'm paraphrasing because he's writing in snippets, but ignores the fact that he has great dangerous power, tightening the noose too slowly, meaning the Dems are tightening the noose too slowly as Trump runs for president. This is 2018, so he's already president. And they're tightening the noose too slowly, risks a very bad situation. Gambino was never the commander in chief. There was little Gambino could do as the walls closed in. Not so with this maniac, borderline insane, and corroborated by some that are close. So even Epstein, a convicted sexual predator and sex trafficker, he was like, dude, this Trump guy, he is out of control, man. Out of control. The also revealed is that it was one of the emails or one of the documents says Trump spent hours with, and they had redacted the name of which girl he had spent hours with. And now we found out that the name of the girl he had supposedly spent hours with was Virginia Giuffre. Now, Virginia Giuffre at some point said that she never saw any, poor treatment by Donald Trump, but also, we don't know what her plan was because she was suicided. She was hit by a bus initially this year, and then she supposedly took her own life like a month or two later. So if that is who Donald Trump spent a lot of time with, lot of questions there. Lot of questions there. But yes, the Epstein story continues to go on and it continues to have revelations. And of course, some of the people who knew the most are now shockingly dead. And, you got Epstein, you got Brunel, the French fashion designer who was in prison for rape. You got Virginia Giuffre, who wrote a memoir that came out after her death that said his former Israeli prime minister, is it Barack? Sorry. Too many criminals to keep track of. Yeah, well, so she says in the memoir that she was R-worded, I guess I'm supposed to say on YouTube, but I hate that shit, by a well-known prime minister, but everyone's pretty sure a well-known prime minister, but everyone knows that Ehud Barak spent a lot of time with her, and so people just kind of know that that's who she's referring to. Yeah, Ehud Barak. Anyway, but yeah, so there's, as to who would want her suicide, and just in case you forgot, she tweeted like months before that she's not suicidal, and if she were to ever, if you ever hear that she killed herself, it's not true. So she had also put that out there for everyone to know. And so there's a long list of very powerful people that would not want Virginia Giuffre to speak out. And I guess you can add Donald Trump to that list. Okay, I want to move on to some other shocking stories. Not all of them about sex scandals, just a quick reminder, if we get to $75 in Super Chats, I'll do an extra 15 minutes at the end of the hour. Let's keep moving. So this is the number 2 most censored story of the year, according to Project Censored. And, they have, Project Censored does a great job. Eleanor Goldfield co-hosts their podcast, by the way. But they have a whole process in voting for what are the 25 most censored stories of the year. They also don't just call a story censored because they feel like it. It legit has to have not been covered almost at all in mainstream media, other than like one little article here or one little article there. So this is the number 2 most censored story of the year. Water scarcity threatens. Thank you for becoming a new member, Hellevorst. Hellevorst. Thank you so much. Water scarcity threatens 27 million Americans, and yet is essentially never talked about. Nearly 30 million people are living in areas of the U.S. with limited water supplies. Carrie Gilliam reported for The New Lead. Gilliam's report was based on a U.S. Geological Survey study that assessed water availability in the United States, sounded the alarm on what the USGS director David Applegate characterized as increasing challenges to this vital resource. So I guess what he's saying is that some people need water. Now, sounds kind of bougie to me. Okay, acting like you need water. Like, yeah, it's nice to have water, but we don't like need water. It's just a nice thing to have. About 27 million people live in areas where the USGS found a high degree of local water stress. Man, that's a nice. It's just a high degree of local water stress is what the water is. A lot of anxiety. You got great water around here, but it is a little nervous. As Gilliam reported, people who are considered socially vulnerable have a higher risk of experiencing limited water supplies. Let me put that into normal speak. Poor people are fucked when it comes to water. That's how they should have said that. People who are socially vulnerable, basically those in low income and poor families, are more likely to find themselves in limited water supplies. Texas is a prime example of a vulnerable state because of ongoing drought, infrastructure challenges, and international water rights disputes. Also, probably the fact that Texas will let you pollute the fuck out of their water. You can dump anything in their water. I don't think they care. Another state that will let you dump whatever you want, Florida. Also experiencing shortages of fresh water because of rising populations and overexploitation of groundwater, which accounts for 90% of Florida's drinking water. Shortages are being exacerbated by global warming, which has led to more intense, more frequent floods and hurricanes that overwhelm wastewater systems, as well as to periods of drought. And let me throw in here that something that they do not throw into the article, which is the solutions to our water issues are fucking out there. They're out there. You could have, like, we could put our society's effort, rather than putting it just into data centers, right? All of our energy and all of our water needs to go into data centers. Rather than just doing that, you could put it into desalinators. You could put it into the designing homes that recycle water. And I know when people hear recycle water, they go, ew, gross. But 2 things. One is, a lot of your water is already recycled, okay? What do you think all these massive plants are where water filtration plants? They take the water, they clean it, and they give it fucking back to you. That's how it works. That's how it works in a lot of places already. Not every drip of water you drink comes from a little magical stream that has somehow gone unpolluted in America. But on top of that, the solutions are out there. We could use design changes. We could put efforts into desalination. We could also, there's an example of this. Namibia. Namibia is the only country that has over, I think, 50%, I think it's like 70 or 80% of all of their water comes from recycled water. And they've been able to do it. So if Namibia could do it, I feel like some of the richest countries in the world could do it. Yes, there are other ramifications to this, to like desalinators. It takes a lot of energy. Also, there are waste products, meaning like basically very salty water is a waste product because the salt gets taken out. So you got to find places to deal with that. Yes, that's true. However, just about everything we do has other ramifications. I feel like the number one thing to do would be design changes in our architecture. How about all the water that you use in the shower? then gets put into your goddamn toilet. Do you need your toilet to be fresh water? Yeah, do you? Do you need to? I will not shit on used shower water. Okay, it's no. I pour Evian into. Is Evian even still a brand? I pour Evian into the the toilet bowl because I want to shit in just like the top level, perfect, clean water. Yes, VC Nick is saying it's not. Thank you for supporting the show. It's not resource shortage; it's distribution issues, distribution and engineering. Also, yeah, the complete waste of water. And there's so many ways we waste crazy amounts of water. You got fracking where we pump crazy amounts of water into the earth and then just pollute it. There's big ag, which is the number one use of water. And our big ag systems are so insane where something like 80% of all soybeans grown in America are shipped to China. That changed for a minute because Trump's idiot trade war. But now China's agreed to again buy all of our soybeans. So guess how you grow soybeans, kids? You spray loads of water all over the fields. So you hose down all those fields. That's called virtual water theft. Now, theft implies that China is the one stealing water from us. I don't think that's how it works. I think the problem is capitalism. Shh, don't say the word. Don't say it. We could redesign these systems. We could have an economic system that doesn't ship fucking soybeans around the world. We could have an economic system where you're rewarded for, for industries feeding and giving their resources to people nearby rather than around the world. And this could be done throughout the world, but no, we need to just have this insane system that, we'll just we'll use all of our clean water to hose down fields to grow alfalfa that's shipped to China, that's fed to the cows so that China can eat the cows. That's perfect sense, perfect efficiency. You know, the word economics initially had to do with the efficiency of a system. And efficiency is gone. It's gone. It's your GDP can be through the roof, and you can literally ship alfalfa while there's a drought. Ship it to China for the cows to eat, and that's great for your GDP. Awesome. All right, and rant done. Texas is a prime example. Then they talk about Florida. Shortages are being exacerbated by global warming. In Virginia, large data centers use as much as 5 million gallons of water a day. A day. Just so you can type into ChatGPT, rash on buttocks. What are likely causes? Also, I spend most of my day rubbing my ass on various objects around the house. Just so we can type dumb questions into ChatGPT. We're 5 million gallons of water a day just to that one data center, those data centers in Virginia. Tech companies are consuming massive amounts of groundwater in areas that are already facing water shortages due to rising temperatures. Now, maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong. The reason data centers need water is to cool the systems, right? Do they have to be fresh water? Couldn't they, if they're cooling the systems, couldn't they use salt water? If they use salt water, couldn't they get that from what's the name of the big salt water that's like it's like next to the United States? It's like there's like one over here and like one over here. Oceans. Couldn't we use the oceans? If that's the case, or can you not cool data centers with saltiness? Or is ChatGPT like, too salty? I don't like it. No, thank you. Okay. Roughly 53% of the nation's aquifers are drying up as global water systems confront warming, which isn't happening, right? There's no global warming, so I don't know what they're talking about. Almost everyone in the U.S. Then they get it. So I skipped a lot of it, but then they get into the ways our water is polluted, even the water we think is clean. And again, when you look at I like to talk about getting down to like core reality or the different layers of reality. you talk about, okay, we're in a drought, not enough water. Then you get into like, where's the water going, and the fact that solutions are out there. Then you get into like how the water is polluted, even the ones we're getting. Then you get into like, well, who are the people making the decisions that end up with you and me drinking polluted water? Oh, it's the people at the top. Who are they? Oh, they're the rich. Okay, so the rich are at the top. Why would they not care if our water is polluted? Oh, because they never drink water like out of the tap. Like the richest of the rich are purely drinking, bottled water. Now, luckily for us, they're all drinking microplastics. So at least we're filling them with microplastics. But my point is just like for most public water, it's not really going to the rich. That's not where they're getting their stuff. They're drinking the nicest water. And because they're sociopaths, they're all sociopaths. Some are psychopaths, but there's no concern about the fact that we're just drinking polluted water. Almost everyone in the U.S. has PFAs in our blood. The U.S. Center for Disease has said PFAs are forever chemicals. They never leave you, I guess, hence the name, or maybe rarely leave you. Question. Since I have some forever chemicals in me, could I like lop off my arms and legs? And would that then decrease the amount of forever chemicals? Because I would imagine if they're in me if I had fewer arms and legs, I'd probably have fewer forever chemicals and probably fewer microplastics in me too. So, ChatGPT, would that be helpful? Should I cut off my legs? The Trump administration has closed 25 scientific centers that monitor water usage and supply levels in the United States. So while we're facing this, Trump is literally shutting down the centers that monitor how much water we're using, because science is fake and gay. So you don't want to be using science out there, kids. Totally fake and gay. The USGS study was reported by only one national news outlet, Newsweek. As of July 2025, no other U.S. corporate news outlet appears to have discussed the USGS report on limited water supplies. And all of these are getting worse. None of them are getting better. And we're not using any of the solutions that are out there that I just mentioned because it's all about profit, right? The United States just stumbles aimlessly towards profit. There are other countries where it's not fully about profit. It may be a lot about profit, but not fully. So literally in some countries, they'll go, our people need clean water. They're probably going to need clean water 10 years from now. Maybe we should come up with a plan to have clean water 10 years from now. And maybe we'll have a plan to have clean water even like 20 years from now. Should we do that? There are some countries that do that, China being one of them. In the U.S., we do not do that. When was the last politician you saw say, I am putting together and working and pushing for a 20-year plan for clean water for Americans? Zeros. Actually, please show me the politician that says, I am working on a 20-year plan to fill in the blank. Doesn't exist. There is no 20-year plan. There's barely a plan for the next quarter. This is also why they don't fix the goddamn bridges, because that needs to be a long-term plan. Nothing. It's also why we don't have fucking bullet trains. Nothing in the United States is a long-term plan because that requires going outside of profit. Rarely can you have a plan that long-term that equals profit. They could maybe think it might, like likely profit, but the more years you get out, the less likely that becomes. That's why you will see like airports often will have redesigns, right? Which takes several years, 2-3 years to rebuild or expand an airport somewhere. And they'll do that. Why do they do that? Because they know the money's coming. And 2 years out, you can kind of predict. 3 years out, you can kind of predict. You go farther than that, and they're like, we don't know if we'll make the money. So we're not rebuilding the bridges. Also, rebuilding the bridge. Where's the money in making sure we safely get across bridges in the United States? 60,000 structurally deficient bridges in this country. Where's the money in that? Nah, not enough. Even if you put up a toll booth, quarters aren't going to do it. Okay, let's keep going here. Thank you all you supporting the show. If we get to $75 in super chats on either YouTube or Rumble or Locals, I will do an extra 15 minutes for this show. Actually, tonight now is also a good time. By the way, I'm about to get into the deep dive that ProPublica did on what exactly the news coverage was that got Trump to send National Guard to Oregon and how hilarious it is. It's really, truly amazing. Thank you, Dan, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Goddamn right. And I have plenty of more stories after that. But I just wanted to promote some awesome things. On December 12th, I'm performing live in New York City. It's my first performance in New York City in probably 3-4 years. Live stand-up comedy, me and John F. O'Donnell. If you want to attend that show, and Anders Lee, and there's another special guest as well. If you want to attend that show, go to tinyurl.com/Lee Cobra Club. Lee Cobra Club. If you forget that URL, you can also email me at leecampmail@gmail.com. But grab your tickets while you can. It's not a huge venue, so I hope you will check it out. Come to the show. tinyurl.com/Lee Cobra Club. Also, coming up in not too many days, 6 days, we've got a fundraiser for Gaza. The money goes straight to Gaza, and you could help out for $10 tickets, $11.60 once you add in tax. But it is a Zoom event, Zoom webinar hosted. It doesn't say on here, but I believe it's hosted by Eleanor Goldfield. She has put it together, and it is two great academics, Ather Zaya and Mohammed Bamia, well known, and they're talking about the no state solution. And it's talking about Israel and Gaza, but in the kind of lens of how toxic nationalism is, how toxic states, having a national system as the way we organize the world. So it's those two ideas combined, and it really is going to be informative and awesome. And if you haven't heard these two speak, they're amazing. That's November 18th, 7 p.m., Tuesday, 7 p.m. And again, you could support this. You could support Gazans for $10. So to get to that, go to artkillingapathy.simpletix.com. That's TIX. artkillingapathy.simpletix.com. And you could even buy a ticket, even if you're not sure you can make it, because all the money's going to Gaza, so you're really losing nothing. And I hope you will support that event. Okay. Also, I've been putting up new columns over at my Substack. reallycamp.substack.com. So I hope you will subscribe over there. Let's keep going. ProPublica has put out this amazing investigative piece on what seems to have gotten Trump to send federal troops to Oregon. And the breakdown is truly incredible. So Fox News on September 4th used footage from protests to say, look at Oregon, look at Portland, it's burning down. Oh my God, it's so crazy. And a fair amount of the footage, and all of the footage that was kind of more violent or looked more extreme, is from 2020. They literally couldn't find footage to say shit was bad in Portland, Oregon, so they just grabbed footage from 2020. The footage from 2020 protests after the police killing of George Floyd, and said it was from 2025. We found two clear cases from that night, as well as one that seemed to match a scene filmed at a key site in 2020. Fox also mislabeled two other dates of actions shown on the screen. Fox Chyrons, that's the lower third, about Portland the week of Trump's remarks carried phrases like violent demonstrators, Protesters riot, anti-ICE Portland rioters, warlike protests, warlike, everybody. It was fucking warlike in Portland. Holy shit, it was warlike. One host said protesters were attacking federal officers, and then Trump went in front of cameras and parodied this stuff and said, oh, it's a war zone there. Most clashes between protesters and police before the Fox News segment did not result in any criminal charges. And you got to figure, the cops want to arrest people, right? They want to say, oh, we got all these violent protests and we arrest them. And even they in Portland couldn't find people to arrest and charge. It didn't result in any criminal charges or arrests alleging protesters committed violence. What's more, and then, of course, there's the debate is whether property destruction is violence, but this article is assuming it is. What's more, based on news releases from federal and local authorities, charges and arrests for assault, arson, or destruction of property were also almost entirely confined to a period that ended the night of July 4th. Videos after the date captured numerous images of federal officers forcefully moving in on protesters without corresponding criminal charges alleging protester violence. This is a common tactic of federal troops, but also police, is you'll have peaceful protesters there, holding signs, chanting, and then they march into them, greatly increasing the chance that they're going to arrest someone for, some kind of violence against them because they're thrusting themselves in to create violence. But of course, these were no normal Fox News segments. These resulted in federal troops being sent to Oregon. Fox spliced footage from 2020 in its coverage and claimed it was 2025. So here is one example I'm going to put on the screen. Let's see.
On this night in late June.
So there's not really much volume to this or much audio, but they just show how these troops that look like they're in the middle of a war zone was actually from 2020. And it also aired on Fox News. So they're reusing their own footage from 2020, meaning they didn't find it online and think, well, maybe it's last night. Who knows? Which is still not journalism, right? It's still propaganda. It's still garbage. It's still fake. But this is them taking their own footage from 2020 and claiming it's 2025. And ProPublica was able to show that this is the same shit. Here's another scene showing police in riot gear spraying, hosing down protesters, also from 2020. And Trump then apparently watched this footage that aired September 4th, shot at a slightly different angle, blurs out spots where graffiti was visible on the building. And I'm assuming that the reason they blur the graffiti is probably because it had to do with George Floyd or Black Lives Matter, and they kind of figured that people would know that this was not 2025 if it was Black Lives Matter. But anyway, on screen at that moment is a U.S. Navy veteran who was pepper sprayed and repeatedly struck with a baton. But it didn't happen in 2025. The video was posted on social media in 2020. So let's see. This is that video as well.
We're just going to let violent rioters do this for 80 straight nights, and we don't care.
And the reason the real reason they were using 2020 was not that there were no protests in Portland, Oregon against ICE. There were, but they were all very peaceful. They were all like drum circles and people in like fucking mascot outfits dressed up as chickens or whatever. Like there's been montages of all the like mascots that they've dressed up as in Portland, and you can't show that and be like, it's a war zone down here, and then you see a duck dancing. Like it doesn't work as well. So instead they grabbed all this footage from 2020. So then Trump didn't say exactly what he watched, but he comes out in front of reporters September 5th, the day after, and says, I was watching TV last night. I didn't know that was still going on. It's been going on for years. So basically, Trump believed the laughable lies from Fox News, and then sent federal troops to Oregon. In a September 2nd segment featuring the video from the day earlier, Bill Hemmer on Fox News said it shows riots raging. Anchor Trace Gallagher teased another September 2nd news segment by once again showing the video saying it's a riot outside of Portland ICE facility. But that was from, first of all, that was from days before. But the other problem is it's not, they keep calling it a riot. And you can actually see from their footage, it's a tiny group of people. There's nothing riotous going on. There is a little tiny fire. Like if you were to, for those of you listening to the podcast, it's like if you were to light one book on fire or something. There's a little tiny fire at the bottom of a prop guillotine that they brought. Not a violent weapon, but a prop of a guillotine. And that is what Fox News is complaining is a riot. The protest rage. Here's the tiny fire and the guillotine. And as you can tell, it is just riotous. It's end of days, man. End of fucking days. The September 1st protest had little to no energy, according to an internal Portland police summary, before federal officers dispersed the crowd to collect a prop guillotine. Katie Daviscourt, a Trump-aligned, so that's the tear gas you saw, was when the cops, rather than just march in and grab the guillotine, they decided to spray a peaceful crowd with tear gas or pepper spray canisters to take the guillotine away. So they create violence, and then they go, oh my God, it's violent. Kate Daviscourt, a Trump-aligned commentator who filmed the clips, noted on X that protesters were having dance parties and that their main problems were not leaving restricted areas, burning a flag, and possessing a deadly object, a guillotine. So here's the thing. A guillotine is not a deadly object unless you literally have people lined up to have their head stuck in a guillotine. You can't like chase someone with a guillotine. You can't, like, they're not harming the police with a guillotine. It's a fucking prop, you sad, pathetic human beings. And then the other thing that Fox News did was there were these peaceful protests in Portland against ICE. They went on for several days. There are, at any peaceful protest, there's usually drum circles. There's usually chanting. Because if you're going to stay there a long time, you got to keep people's energy up. And so, believe it or not, there was a Portland resident who got annoyed that these people were chanting for several days. Oh my God. Well, guess what? That's her right to get annoyed. It's also the right of peaceful protesters to protest. So, yeah, she was annoyed. Yeah, it happened. And so there's video of her yelling at them saying, we the people need to sleep. What are you doing? Okay. So Fox News takes this one clip of someone yelling that they don't like it. And not only, makes a big deal out of it, like they're driving Portland residents nuts. And not only makes a big deal out of it, but pretends it's happening every day. So they keep showing this clip of the same person saying, we need to sleep, stop making all that noise, turn it down. And they keep playing it day after day, acting like it's happening that day. The next day, they play the clip again. In reality, the confrontation was from a video months before. God, the effort they have to go to pretend this was a riot is amazing. So then Trump, says he's sending federal troops. But it's just the perfect mix, isn't it, of of propaganda. I guess it starts with propaganda. People actively deciding we're going to take clips from 5 years ago and pretend they're last night. But then combined with idiocy, both the idiocy of the people at Fox News and the idiocy of Donald Trump and the idiocy of other people across this country watching it and going, oh my God, Portland's a war zone. And then you add in the power of the presidency, the power that this lunatic can just send federal troops wherever he wants. And then you add in the fact that he's rigged the Supreme Court to allow him to do these things. It really is just it's just a perfect stew of corruption and idiocy and propaganda and fascism, and just a wonderful, wonderful mix. All right. Oh God, I'm gonna run out of time, so I got to figure out what to squeeze in here. Would you rather? I'm gonna ask you guys in the. You got to comment quick because I'm not gonna wait long. That's the problem when I poll you guys. Is I don't always have time to wait for the response. Would you rather hear, if we run out of time, would you rather hear the truth about Nigeria and why Trump is threatening to send U.S. military to Nigeria? Or would you rather hear more evidence that Boris Johnson and the United States stopped the peace deal in April 2022, stopped the proxy war from ending, and that is a admission coming from a former top Zelensky advisor. Okay, so we got one vote for Nigeria, another vote for Nigeria, another vote for Nigeria. Okay, we're going with Nigeria, unless anyone... Okay, everybody's saying Nigeria. Okay, let's do Nigeria. Well done. I'm glad you guys were on top of it. I'm glad you... Good job. Quick comments. I like it. So Trump is now threatening to send... I don't know why that image on the page isn't loading, but Trump's now threatening to send U.S. military to Nigeria to make things right there. He's going to make things right. And he says the government better move fast. And he claims, and other Americans, such as the very, very left-wing, always left-wing, so left-wing Bill Maher, are saying there's a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. And so let me read a little of this. President Donald Trump said he's instructing the Defense Department to prepare for possible action in Nigeria, claiming the nation's government continues to allow the killing of Christians. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, this is a quote from Trump, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities, the president wrote. And then he screamed in all caps that terrorist thugs are attacking our cherished Christians. By the way, just notice that Muslims are not cherished, right? Only Christians are cherished. And sometimes Israel is cherished, but really it's only Christians are cherished. Muslims, totally not cherished. So I brought you some of the... There's two factors to this. One is the truth about whether this is a genocide. And the secondary factor is, so if it's not about the Christians, what is it really about? Why is Trump and others in the U.S. and the U.S. ruling elite suddenly talking about Nigeria? So those are the two kind of halves of this story. So I brought you some of the reality of what's going on in Nigeria. I think it was last week. And the fact that it's not just the Nigerian government, but other non-governmental groups are rejecting the idea of a genocide because, yes, Christians are being killed in Nigeria, but it's because Boko Haram and ISIS, or whatever ISIS is called, ISWAP, in that area is called, they're killing everybody that isn't with them. So they're killing Christians. They've actually killed more Muslims than they've killed Christians. I think a lot more Muslims than they've killed Christians. Nigeria rejects claim of Christian genocide as Trump mulls military action. Officials and experts in Nigeria on Sunday denied Trump's claims of mass killings of Christians, noting that Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda linked groups, that's the ISWAP, as I've said many times, not to be confused with WAP, groups target people of all faiths in Africa's most religious country. So it's a very religious country. So considering the fact that they're killing people who are not with them means that they are killing a lot of Muslims, they're killing a lot of Christians, and it is disgusting. The mass murder of anyone is revolting. These people are horrific mass murderers. That is a given, but it goes against the definition of a genocide. And also, even if you were to say, okay, it's a genocide of Christians, well, it's actually a bigger genocide of Muslims if you were to use that terminology. So if Trump or Bill Maher wants to get upset about it, they need to get more upset about a genocide of Muslims in the country. Anyway, so there is at minimum debate, but really it just seems to be mass killing of people who don't support them. And there's also this little factor, if you're wondering where Boko Haram and ISWAP and ISIS came from. Here's from Yahoo News. CIA, and this is back in 2015, CIA and Mossad are behind Boko Haram and ISIL, another name for ISIS, really, says the Sudan president. The Sudan president accused the CIA and Mossad of backing Boko Haram and ISIS. And as we've shown, I mean, we just had former Al-Qaeda chief in the White House yesterday, or 2 days ago, which I covered on the show. As we've shown, as long as the killing is in the right direction for the U.S. empire, we're fine with killing. Kill all the people you want, all the innocent people you want. Totally great. Look at Gaza. Totally fine with us as long as it's in the right direction, as long as it doesn't get in the way of our empire. Sometimes it's specifically because we want the people they're killing dead. Other time, like in Syria, we wanted people supporting the government to die so that we could bring down Syria. In other cases, it's just to create instability. If you have a bunch of mass killing, the country's unstable. They can't grow. They can't create greater defenses. They can't become their own sovereign country. It's good for the U.S. empire to have unstable, faltering governments in various places. Libya is an example. So we will support mass murderers as long as they're doing the right kind of mass murder. So why would the U.S. Trump specifically suddenly bring Nigeria onto their map? Why Nigeria? And this killing, by the way, has been going on for years. So why now? Why does Trump care now? Why does Bill Maher care now? Well, Bill Maher cares because he wants to say Gaza genocide doesn't count. Nigeria's worse, so don't talk about Gaza. That's why Bill Maher cares. But that's not why Trump cares. Trump cares. Thank you for supporting the show. Appreciate it. Trump cares because it goes back to our fight with China. China called our bluff, right? China beat us in this trade war that Trump created. They destroyed us. And in fact, the Unredacted tonight, it won't come out until a week from Thursday, so it's not going to come out till then. But I am doing a big segment on China totally whooping us in this ridiculous trade war that Trump created. Anyway, how did they whoop us? They whooped us mainly with their rare earth minerals. They said we're creating a system where we're going to, only allow certain countries to get certain amounts of rare earth minerals. Trump shat himself. All of DC shat themselves, and Trump went running to the table. And guess what China agreed to in this new trade agreement with Trump? They agreed to go back to how it was before Trump became president. Honestly, that was basically, with some slight tinkering of the numbers, basically back to what it was before he was president, before his idiot trade war. That's where we are now. So he completely lost, completely got his bluff called. But here's the thing. Rare earth minerals, as I'll cover on Unredacted tonight as well, are not that rare. They are in a lot of countries. So we need two things. One is we need rare earth minerals. Two is we need the processing of those rare earth minerals, which is very hard. It is very intensive. It's very difficult. It's very complicated. It requires a lot of pollution. It requires a lot of very specific types of technology. The U.S. does not have any of that, and very few countries do. China processes or refines 92% of all rare earth minerals. So even if you get the rare earth minerals, you have to get them refined largely in China, which is why we shat ourselves. Which is why, and by the way, these minerals are in everything. But most importantly, they're in our computers, they're in our weapon systems. Without the rare earth minerals refined by China in our weapon systems, we can't attack China. So Nigeria has a lot of resources. They also have the most oil in Africa. But Trump wants the oil. He wants the resources. He wants the rare earth minerals. Also, Nigeria is working on their first rare earth mineral processing plant. So maybe Nigeria will soon be processing these rare earth minerals. But we've seen Trump turning to where the U.S. can steal rare earth minerals. And some of the biggest places he's looking at are stealing Greenland, Nigeria, and what's another place that has a lot of resources, including oil? Anyone want to guess? Venezuela. So let's play this old quote, but from a few years ago. Never gets old, though. Always works. And this is one of the heads of the Pentagon, and she's talking about what Venezuela has.
So rich in resources. It's off the charts rich. And they have a lot to be proud of. And our competitors and adversaries also know how rich in the resources that this region is. 60% of the world's lithium is in the region. You have heavy crude. You have light sweet crude. You have rare earth elements. You have the Amazon, which is called the lungs of the world. You have the 31% of the world's fresh water.
So there she is, one of the Pentagon chiefs, bragging about all the stuff that could be stolen from Venezuela and that region in general. And, you know, I repeat it a lot. You guys know Venezuela has more oil reserves than any country on earth. And we right now are setting up an invasion of Venezuela. I have covered it a lot, so I'm not getting that deep into it on this episode. But we're sending battleships down there. We are rebuilding our military base in Puerto Rico so that we can be, it's like 500-mile flight to attack Venezuela. And it's horrifying. And of course, all of this just proves that we are a bloodthirsty, disgusting empire, and we want to steal materials and resources from everywhere around the planet. But yeah, so that's the story behind Nigeria. Because even if he cared, like the idea that Trump cares about any other, and let's remember what these Christians are. They're mostly not white Christians. What? The idea that Trump cares about a Nigerian people, Christian or not, is like so hysterical. Like to picture him at home being like, oh, those poor people, they're Christians, they're poor Christians. Trump has never been to church a day in his life. What the fuck does he care about a Christian? Secondly, he thinks any country that's not all mostly white or has a lot of white people is a quote from Trump, shithole country. Why would he ever care about Nigerian people? He doesn't. So anybody who thinks that that's the real reason for why the U.S. is talking about also invading Nigeria, oh, wow. Get more cynical, all right? Please. Okay, so that's the show. I'm going to head over and do an extra segment for those of you on locals. We didn't quite get to the super chat number, but that's all right. And yeah, I'm going to do a extra. If you want to join the extra segment, you can join for free over at leecamp.net. Just scroll down to become a supporter and then use promo code LeeCampFree, one word, and you'll get a free month. And it's not like you have to sign up for a year. You'll sign up for a month and you'll get a free month. And if you cancel before the end of the month, then you've paid nothing and you've enjoyed the extra segments. So I hope you'll do that. LeeCamp.net. I think I'll also be able to post this on Patreon soon. Something went wrong with the Patreon live stream today. But for the rest of you, I will see you Friday for another live stream. I do these 3 times a week. Please put it on your calendar with 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. But there will be no Unredacted tonight, tomorrow night. We're taking a week off, so no Unredacted tomorrow night, Thursday. Normally there is, but not tomorrow night. And I will see you Friday. Everybody at Locals, hang in there, and I'll see you in 1 minute over at Locals. To everybody else, thanks and keep fighting.